What's up, everybody? Welcome to Just Because Gaming. My name is Michael,
And I'm Ray.
and thanks for joining us. Before we get into it, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, go to the socials, do all the things in all the places. And with that being said, we're going to jump into it. So the main thing we wanted to focus on is there's been a lot of comparison for the upcoming Xbox ROG Ally and ROG Ally X. For a lot of you that don't know, currently there is the ROG Ally, not the Xbox version, but just the regular Asus ROG Ally and the Asus ROG Ally X. With that being said, they don't exist in a vacuum. There's also the Legion Go, there is the Steam sponsored Steam Deck, and there's also the MSI Claw, or it's the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. It's quite a mouthful, but one of the articles that recently came out was comparing the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus to the currently existing ROG Ally X. Now, this isn't talking about the Xbox ROG Ally and Xbox ROG Ally X, but the currently existing Asus one. And I think that runs on an Android operating system. And in the comparison, there's basically a lot of specs back and forth. And surprisingly enough, you would think, oh, well, since Xbox partnered with Asus, Asus must be the strongest handheld out there. Actually, it's the MSI. So as far as current handheld technology goes, Asus is losing. And the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus is actually the best handheld console out there.
So is that because it's got more in sales? Is it beating them just in power and accessibility? I mean, I haven't really heard much about the MSI Claw, so I'm kind of curious as to how it's beating the Asus.
So it's a lot of different factors. The pricing is relatively close, but in terms of like form factor, comfort, quality, just the Claw is beating left and right. Like the Claw has an 8-inch screen, while the Asus ROG Ally has, I think, a 7.5-inch screen, and the Claw is in a higher HD quality, and the processor's better, and the battery life's better. Just all that for the MSI Claw 8. So I don't see it really comparing sales, because the thing is, as far as computers go, Asus and ROG, the Republic of Gaming, they are a very well-known company and a very well-known brand. Similar to Apple, they can kind of coast off their name for a lot of that. And, it could be just name recognition, like for phones. You can have an amazing Android, but there'll still be those Apple users that are like, well, I have an iPhone, and that's all they'll hear and that's all they'll see. They won't actually look at the features and see that there's new features that, an Android phone might have versus an iPhone. But so, yeah, in that sense, Asus can kind of coast off their name brand and name recognition. But yeah, it's kind of surprising to see that, the MSI Claw 8, it runs cooler. It doesn't overheat as bad, and like all this stuff. And it kind of makes me a little leery of the ROG Ally. One of the things, however, is when you're looking at that article, and we'll post a link to the article in the description below, but one of the things that it mentions is, yes, the ROG Ally is the weaker option in comparison to the MSI Claw 8, but there's the asterisk saying for now. With this next generation of the ROG Ally, with the Xbox ROG Ally and the Xbox ROG Ally X, it'll be hands down beating the competition, and it will be the clear leader in handheld gaming. The other thing that's been compared is the Xbox ROG Ally to itself, which is the Xbox ROG Ally versus the Xbox ROG Ally X. And much like you would think when comparing the actual Xbox consoles, like the Series S and the Series X, obviously the Series X and the Xbox ROG Ally X is clearly much more powerful. And if the price points are true at $599 and $899, I don't want to say it's just a couple $100 difference, but when you're looking for a higher end gaming experience, You're not going to get a handheld console. This is a premium handheld console. So a lot of people are looking at it like, if I'm going to spend the extra money to get an Xbox as a handheld version, most people that are going to get an Xbox ROG Ally or an Xbox ROG Ally X probably already have an Xbox. So with that being said, this is just spending extra money on Xbox. And for the people that can afford to, they're leaning more towards the Xbox ROG Ally X. With the article, and again, we'll have the article listed in the description, but it's showing that as far as sentiment and as far as desirability, the Xbox ROG Ally X is way over demand and over expectations. Everything is focusing on the Xbox ROG Ally X. So I'm hoping, and Ray, you can let me know if you think this is the case, but I'm hoping that when it comes to production, I hope they don't take a 50-50 approach where they make 50% of the inventory for the Xbox ROG Ally and the other 50% of the inventory for the Xbox ROG Ally X. Hopefully they see the demand and they see the attention to the Xbox ROG Ally X and they shift their production to match that. Because right
I
now,
hope they'll look at like pre-orders and say, oh, look, 70% of them are ordering the ROG Ally X. So we should definitely, in addition to the extras that we're going to produce that aren't pre-orders, we should do a 70-30 percentage. And
exactly.
I think that's one of the reasons they do the pre-orders, is to get an idea of how do we need to produce this.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. I'm not sure how the manufacturing and sales and inventory for like all these computer companies go, but I definitely hope they take the pre-orders as a direction to move forward. So if they see everybody's pre-ordering the Xbox ROG Ally X and only a handful of people in comparison are pre-ordering the Xbox ROG Ally, hopefully when it comes to production for in-store options like going to Walmart or going to Target, seeing them there, hopefully they'll match those same, whether it be 80-20, 70-30, 60-40. Hopefully they maintain that split, because that will give a snapshot of demand. And I would like to think even past early adopters who are going to pre-order, I'd like to think, and I'd really be interested to see this. If anybody knows, please link in the comments, an article about, how pre-orders match long-term, ordering. But I would imagine that pre-orders, the shift with pre-orders matches throughout the life cycle. I could be completely wrong. It could be that for example, for the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X, that the Series X was pre-ordered through the moon, but the Series S is what had the long, lifespan and the long order life.
Yeah. Of course,
I
that
have
one's
no
going to
idea.
be kind of a skewed result on that because of the way the chip shortage was. They were able to make a lot more S's because of the architecture of that one than they could the X's, because
Yeah.
there's that chip shortage going on. They just didn't have the parts they needed to make the amount that people probably would have wanted. You don't have that going on now.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. So we'll be able to get a more accurate view of it.
But yeah, definitely. And I don't know if I'm saying that just for the sake of saying it, or if there's part of me that's kind of scared that I won't be able to pre-order it and be like, hopefully it's in the stores. Because I really do want that. I really would love to get the Xbox ROG Ally X. Because, if it comes down to spending $5.99 or $8.99, I'll just put a little extra more aside from every paycheck. It's fine. I'll be able to afford it somehow, but it's fine. I really would want that. So I'm one of those target demographics. I'm one of those that, I have both options, the lower end option and the higher end option. And I too agree. Yes, the higher end option. If I'm going to be spending extra money on an extra version of a console, I want the best one possible. So yeah, hopefully those are definitely available, because your boy wants one too.
All right. Well, that's it for the Xbox ROG Ally X and regular Xbox ROG Ally. I really wish they'd come up with a simpler name for these things. This is a little ridiculous. We appreciate you watching the show. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Later.
Peace. War. War never changes.